Christmas, guys, and Happy New Year and all that.
Happy Chocolate.
Yes.
And we're live. How you doing, everybody?
Happy Festivus.
Yes.
Doing well. Good morning.
Morning.
Kwanzaa. We forgot Kwanzaa.
It was yesterday, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I can't keep track of all these things anymore.
Yeah. So, good morning, everybody. I see Chris out there in our West Coast offices.
San Francisco says hello.
San Francisco in the house. From the Southern Belle down there, we got Mr. Webster.
Hello from Houston.
Oh, Houston, I think we have a problem. And from right next door, we got David.
Good morning.
Which I think it's actually warmer here than it is in the other two places.
It's really warm.
It could be.
Yeah. Looking forward to some more global warming later today. So let's get started. So today, I want to talk about a broad subject. About a month ago now, I think it is, we heard that North Korea infiltrated Hollywood. And they said, if you show this movie called The Interview, we're going to do 9/11-like attacks on your theaters, which I'm not quite sure what that really means. And, we saw some politicians get up in arms, and Sony got up in arms, multiple hacks, some memos got hung out there, and then out of the blue, there it is. The movie comes out as scheduled, but different type of release, digital only. Because of my journalistic background, I had to watch the movie.
I did my homework last night too.
Okay, so
How did you watch it?
Illegally on my Plex.
Oh, I paid for it on Google Play actually.
Well, it's good to know that I'm part of 750,000 people that illegally downloaded it.
Wait, you didn't pay?
I did not pay. Frankly, not having paid, I still got ripped off. This morning I wrote a lovely note to Mr. Un with a basket of fruit, edibles. I like those edibles. It's good for his weight.
Not the plastic ones?
No, the real one.
Okay.
And I sent it over to North Korea and say, thank you for attempting to keep this from the American people. Nobody will know what a service you've actually tried to do. Frankly, I think it was the worst movie ever played. I can't think of anything. It could have been better if instead of Seth Rogen, maybe like Vince Vaughn, and instead of James Franco, it would have been something like Wilson. And instead of The Interview, it would have been something like with Google, call like maybe The Internship.
Wait, Wilson? You're talking about that? You're talking about that's the reference to that with Castaway?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get started here. The first thing I want to talk about is the technology behind this whole thing, because it was interesting. I did some research, and let me ask you something, Steve. You being the CTO and all, how many IPs do you have for your company? What's the range? How big is the range?
It's a big range. We've got a small subset of a Class C, so I mean it's hundreds of IPs.
You think you have more than 1,000?
I don't think we have more than 1,000.
Because if you did, you'd have more IP addresses than the whole North Korea.
Yeah.
So North Korea has 1,000 PCs.
They only have like 10 functional PCs, don't they?
Yeah. And I found out that all their pipe goes through China. So China is their internet service provider.
Yep.
And I also found out that their
So wait, why is that different than somewhere else, like us?
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because you probably have more bandwidth than the whole country of North Korea in your own house.
That's true, but probably all of our IPs go through China anyway.
They own the IP. See what I did there, David? See what I did there? They own the IP.
I see what you did. That's clever.
Thank
I'm
you.
still caffeinating. Sorry, guys.
I can tell that. So, the hacker supposedly broke into Sony, and somehow we found out that it was North Korea. Does anybody know how?
I think we just plain out sheer made it up, to be honest.
I'm not sure, right? Because they said the Secret Service or whoever, the NSA first came out and said they thought it was North Korea. Then the FBI came out and said it was definitively North Korea. But I don't think anybody has really given any data to back up who it was.
None.
It's just
Wasn't this just a case of theft where somebody just got some system admin's password and just got into their machines like anybody would locally on the campus to get into it to create the leak?
Well, it's interesting you should say that because it's very interesting that the scripts, not that I've ever done this before in my life. Don't get me wrong. Put my hoodie up. I don't want to be found out.
The hoodie and the beard, very incognito. It really means you've been sick.
Right. Not that I've ever done this, but when you do scripts for hacking, normally what you do is you go out there and fish, like the moron who keeps breaking into TechReact under the password admin. So what you would do is you would do a random generator that generates different known things. The script that they used to break into Sony had passwords hardwired in.
Right, they knew the passwords, is what I read. So I mean, it really wasn't a hack; it was plain old theft.
Right, and it was also interesting that this year, lovely Sony decided to move all its digital arm of 7,000 people to Vancouver for tax benefits. So they laid
And
off
for higher
7,000.
security, obviously.
So they laid off 7,000 digital workers.
I hadn't heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah, 7,000 people from Sony movies got laid off. So I'm thinking that maybe one of those guys was probably not happy about being laid off after working there 20 years. Just saying.
well, yeah. It's always the fact that the biggest threat and the most common reason for these kind of things is an insider, right? So.
Yeah, always. I mean, back in the day when I was selling, security assessment services and other security products in the enterprise space, the most common thing we would be invited in to do for organizations was internal audits and internal policies and actually remediating the policies. And all we would do is usually find that there was just a bunch of gaping holes inside or somebody who was really disgruntled that caused the issues.
Yeah.
Almost every time.
But today that's easy to fix with things like two-factor, right?
Right. You would think
It should be, yeah.
It is, unless you still have a system hanging out off of something else, like an old Shiva dialer or something that nobody is really using that has access to the back end of things.
So it was interesting that Sony, over the past 5 years, has been hacked 56 times. And what also came out was that the big hack that happened, I think was last year, the big network hack, the Sony.
The PlayStation.
When they actually stole the names.
Right.
The names that they stole were actually kept in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, they said there's something like 33,000 spreadsheets that they got that had social security numbers, names, passwords, all unprotected.
Yeah.
It's typical. I mean, it's what we see every day in the enterprise, right?
Yeah, but at what point do you hold the enterprise culpable for this?
Yeah.
Well, they should have been held culpable a long time ago, but if you don't know what to hold someone culpable for, you can't. And that's the problem. Most people just don't know.
Yeah.
So the marketing machine gets all
run some
I'm sorry, Chris.
analysis. Well, somebody said we need to run some analysis of our users, of our customers, and things like that. So pull a dump of the database. Now, the database is probably very secure. It's probably sitting behind, several firewalls and all that kind of stuff, and that's harder to hack into. and somebody said, let's pull a dump of all of our customers and see what's going on there. So you do that, and you put that into a spreadsheet. And then what should have happened is they should have gotten rid of those spreadsheets. But 30,000 of them, obviously, that's like a weekly report or something like that, or several, which ends up being the equivalent of the database. And whoever was doing this wasn't aware of what was going on. And that's a data cleanliness problem within the enterprise. And those kinds of things are very hard to solve. How do you say, what are you doing with all the reports you're getting? And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so, but it wasn't reports, Chris. It was actually the database of all the users were Excel spreadsheets, and they were making calls into the actual physical spreadsheets. So, because that's what I thought so too. I thought it was like a data dump or a report. It wasn't.
Yeah.
They were using Excel. That's their users.
Okay, well, in that case, then they deserve what happened to them.
Yeah, I mean, somebody got into like the Z drive or the E drive or something, and on that shared drive was a list of all these documents, and they just said, "Okay, let's get it and exploit it."
Steve, do you concur with that? Is that what you think? Is that what you know happened too?
I don't know anything, but that's what I suspect happened based on what I've heard so far.
David, are you drinking a beer? It's freaking 9 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, you got to keep the party going.
I think it's a Bloody Mary.
That would be nice. It's actually a big black iced coffee.
So that was interesting to me. And also, Chris, to your point, you're right. Databases are usually very secure, but between the application and the database, you can sniff that stuff right out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the other thing is that there's the concept of data exfiltration, and data exfiltration is meaning, do you have a mechanism to examine things that are heading out of your organization, whether it's a file transfer, whether it's an attachment to an email or what, do you have a way to examine those and look at them and determine whether or not the person who's sending that information has authority to do so, and implementing data exfiltration countermeasures is very difficult. It takes a lot of technology and a lot of hardware to be able to read every message that's outbound from your organization.
Excuse me.
I think Dave just had an epileptic fit.
Allergies.
Are you allergic to the beer you just had?
Must be.
He's allergic to data exfiltration.
Keep going, Chris, please.
Sorry, Chris.
Well, so that's the challenge is trying to be able to see that stuff as it's heading out. If Sony had that capability somewhere, then that would have improved things. From Sony's perspective, that would have given them an early heads up that 30,000 spreadsheets are on the way out, and so evidently they didn't have anything like that.
Yeah,
I think that
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
and it's very true, especially if they're going. But I think that even those systems still are mostly going to protect you from the insider, right? If they found another way out that doesn't send the data through one of those kind of protective systems, right? It's no help, right?
Well, yeah, but if the protective system is well built, it should be able to pick up everything, right? Once you find the data, that's one thing, but then getting it out should be another challenge. I mean, there's only a few ways you can get the data out, right?
Yeah.
So, in theory, that should make it a little bit easier.
True.
So how does a company like Sony not have these basic processes in place?
Well,
that's really the question, isn't it?
I was actually thinking about this. This is where I think that instead of spending our time and money and debating power over net neutrality, I think we should come up with a set of standards that will firstly set up like a like some sort of standards on the security or something, because I don't think PCI goes far enough.
Okay, so you want TechReact to become a new standards organization?
No, I do not. I don't.
No, just Marco. He wants to sit on his throne and
No,
dictate standards.
no, not a standard as in, let me rephrase that. Not a standard as in, here's your standards, but a standard as in, we have to have a company certify you that you're not too stupid to run a network.
See, to me, it sounds more like just best practices in hiring and business processes.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, make it a governmental regulation or anything like that, but there should be some sort of you remember like the old VeriSign on bottom of passwords of websites, or something that says, like when you get into your elevator and it says this elevator's been checked 3 months ago. But there should be something that says, we have gone through this company has gone through.
Well, that's what all that stuff is. That's what PCI is. That's what SOC and ISO 27001 and all that kind of stuff is you actually hire an auditing firm. You've got to hire an external auditor who comes in and audits your policies and procedures as well as your technology, and they do all that kind of stuff. And that's what that's what all that stuff is when you say I've got PCI, then PCI means you've gone out and somebody else has actually done a physical audit. They've come on site, they've looked at what you do, they've tried to penetrate your system and things like that.
Yeah.
So
and there are some standards out there, like you said, the ISO 27001. NIST has come out with a whole cybersecurity framework, but I think at the end of the day, it's still all in the implementation, right? I mean, I know all of us have seen companies that have said they're PCI compliant and they've passed all these audits, but when you kind of peel back the covers, you go, wow, how did you guys really pass these audits?
But you know how subjective PCI is, right? I mean, it's really subjective. That's how they pass.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think that as an internet citizens, these companies should actually be, spending time doing exactly that. There's got to be some sort of belief that because my son is on the PlayStation Network that all this stuff is not compromised now.
So how do you figure that ties in any way whatsoever, if it does, to what we've got going on this last few days with Xbox and the PlayStation Network, where all the online gaming is pretty much DDoSed out?
Yeah, I'm not buying the DDoS.
Either am I. I'm buying lack of capacity personally.
That's what I'm buying.
Yeah.
That's what I think, but that's a whole different story. It's a great excuse, though.
Yeah, and my son, our the TechReact gaming expert, as I like to call him, he's very big in the PS4, and he's giving me hourly graphing of the world of what's out there. And when I look at the graphing, it was interesting to me that between the hours of 3 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Eastern, the network was fine.
Well, that's because all the zombies that were doing the DDoS attack went to sleep.
No, it's because all the kids are gone to bed for the night.
I know. I'm joking.
No, but I just think that's blaming that on the DDoS.
So let me ask you guys a question, because I had this conversation with a friend of mine, I guess last week.
Was he smarter than us? Because if he was smarter than us, then I'm not answering it.
No, but we had the hypothetical that to your intro here, Marco, the worst thing that could possibly happen as a result of all of this fallout from the Sony is the movie is terrible, right? And then the conspiracy theories start that, well, maybe they did this to conceal a bad movie, right? Same thing with DDoS attacks in the Xbox and the Sony PlayStation networks, right?
Lack of scalability could be dealt with, or even better, you don't want to pay for all the bandwidth that you need to do, because they can a lot of these companies can ratchet up bandwidth pretty much on demand, right, as they need it.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I've been told that sometimes I am about the conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Well, if you just took the tinfoil hat off your head, you'd be good to go.
Right.
I'm putting the hoodie back up in a second.
But it is lined with tinfoil, is it not?
It is. You can see it.
And I'll tell you what, I am part of that, and I know that Chris is probably going to have some comments on this, and I welcome him. But I think that somebody within Sony said, there's a whole bunch of big movies coming out of Christmas. We have a snowball chance in hell of making any kind of money. What do we do? So they put some buzz around it. Chris, you and I have built buzz around things that we questioned in the past.
Speak for yourself. But
As you tell the marketing guy that's great.
Exactly. But you've done that before. We've all done that before in our own businesses. And they looked at this thing and they said, how do we bring buzz around it? And then the best thing to do would be to charge $6 and get a wider audience than have it die in the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
well, I think some of the interesting things that are coming out of it is kind of executives of Sony. So there's this whole thing about.
Could you repeat that? I didn't get that.
Yeah.
So the other piece of it is the fallout that's affecting people that had nothing.
What was the first piece?
What was the first piece? We
So-
didn't get the first piece.
So it turns out that it seems that Sony and the MPAA have been going after Google, and the way that Google is allowing movies to come out and on Google Play, and how it's all and how Google searching works, and how they can't get Google to cooperate with them to allow a movie to get a better search engine position and things like that. And so Sony and the rest of the members of the MPAA have apparently been collaborating in order to fight against Google.
What's the MPPA?
The Motion Picture Association, the guys that put together the ratings and all that.
Okay. But, and what does Google have to do with... so you're saying... Well, I don't understand how...
So it's all about... Well, if you recall SOPA, right? The law that the MPAA was really pushing on very hard to get out, so that they could control free copies of things on YouTube and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that Sony was a very big part of, and struggling quickly to find the chat box so I can give you guys a link. We can talk about it, but there's a whole series of emails where Sony and the rest of the MPAA are talking about Google as being the big bad the big bad guy who's hurting them, and they're talking about hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that they're losing because people are putting free content up on YouTube and stuff, and that Google isn't cooperating with them. And so there's a bunch of interesting stories that are coming along there. That's going to be happening over the next few months as they talk about the revelations that came out of the emails from Sony executives around this. All right, so that's one side of it. I can't find. I was reading another article. The Sony CEO is mentoring a CEO of a startup here in Silicon Valley, and this guy was talking about strategy and and employees, and how do I get the right people in the right positions, and the people I hired early in the startup phase are not the right people I need as I move along, so how do I do that, and those kinds of things. And all these conversations, of course, were leaked too, when they leaked the CEO's email. So there's a bunch of that kind of stuff going on where somebody had nothing at all to do with any of this, very far removed now. And I think as people start diving through the rest of these internal emails, these personal emails that end up corporate accounts, a lot of these executives are gonna, and there's going to be a lot more fallout of people who are connected on different things. It wouldn't surprise me if some kind of an insider trading scandal comes out. Some executive was talking to his financial advisor, and the financial advisor said you got to buy this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're a long way from the end of the fallout of what happened with the Sony hack.
That's a lot of information. I guess I'm looking at this. You're probably correct. I'm probably looking at this a little bit too simplistic, as it's about this movie, and it's probably a lot of other things.
So I think
Sets a
so.
precedent in the market as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, all the things that are in your email, somebody got your email over the course of weeks or months, what could come out of it? And I think that, that I certainly wouldn't want that to happen, and I'm sure that all of us, kind of feel that way. But there's something going on with the state of Mississippi and the attorney general there that was passing anti-piracy legislation,
Mm-hmm.
and how the MPAA had talked to Sony execs as well as execs at other motion picture companies and said, we've got the guy in Mississippi in our pocket, and they had donated $50,000 to his campaign as he ran for state attorney general, and then he backed a ruling because it didn't actually need to be a law. It became a ruling coming out of the Attorney General's office that said that use of pirated material was would be considered illegal in the state or something like that, and they were going to start going after people who were uploading things to YouTube and stuff. And the law that the ruling that he published was literally word for word from the press release that the MPAA had put out months before, and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be circulating around this whole affair that has nothing to do directly with Sony itself, but just with how they're working and what they're doing.
Yeah, I put an article that was a real good article that came out, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago in the Wall Street Journal, titled "Are You Sure You Want to Use Email?" Right? And it's all about companies using email and their retention policies, and whether they should adjust their retention policies in the wake of this this whole fiasco, right? And
right.
I think you're going to see a lot of that, right? I know a lot of companies that have reduced their retention times down to like 30 days or 90 days, right? They're really closing that window of how much of this email data that they're keeping around, right?
Yeah, and I think that I think that BlackBerry had the perfect solution for that.
Mm-hmm.
With their BlackBerry Messenger is not kept at all.
Right. Stuff doesn't stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and email's one thing. Yeah, what are you doing with Skype, or any other, Google Messenger or any other messaging service and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of rethinking of what's going on in across organizations as we run through this.
I don't think that going back to what you said before, David, about the distribution channel, I don't think that the public is ready for that kind of distribution channel.
Well, I think the test is going to be how many people actually paid, once the numbers are out, to watch this movie over YouTube. Because a lot of people know how to use YouTube. When you talk about things like Google Plus and other channels that this might be available on or will be soon, how many people are actually paying to watch a movie online through a very easy-to-get-to service?
I heard it was 1 million people for the first day, but I'm not sure that number is correct.
Well, I did it with Chromecast on a Nexus 7 tablet. You really can't get a more convoluted way to watch a movie than that. And I'm the first one to admit it. You know what a big fan I am of Android. So I just did it just to see if I could. And,
I didn't follow. What channels did they actually release it on?
It wasn't released on. It was released on Google through the Google Play Store. So if you're an Android person, you can get it. And it was released on YouTube. Those are the only two that I know of right now.
No. There's also a site called See the Interview.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that one. And you can get it, of course, on Plex or XMBC if you have any of the unsupported channels, but we can't support that way of doing things, Marco.
Yeah.
That's right. We're not.
Okay.
No supporting of that. I thought it was interesting that there was also an article that I saw that was pretty interesting to me, being an Apple aficionado that I am. So Sony went to Apple and said, "We want you to carry it on iTunes," and Apple said, "Nah, I don't think so." So Sony called up the White House and had the White House call Apple and said, "We really want you to carry this movie," and Apple said, "I don't think so." I thought that was really interesting.
Right, but why did they say it? It wasn't just because the
Yeah.
movie, by some people felt the movie was less than good.
No, they said Apple said we don't want any part of this thing that is going on.
Oh, exactly.
I guess they're worried about the effect that it's going to have on their workers in China. Do they have some conscripts in North Korea helping to build the iPhone that you use
Mm.
Who
I cannot
knows?
neither confirm nor deny said accusation.
today?
The latest Fox Pro off, what is it called? Foxcom offices.
Foxconn.
Mm.
They can stack the people up 15 levels high instead of 4 in their songs.
Yeah.
There's an article on Mashable about why they did it, and there's a bunch of speculation, but nobody's got any clear answer as to why.
So I want to be able to follow the marketing a little bit closer, Chris. So I mean, if you can look into, if you can find any articles on marketing, we'll post them.
Sure.
I think it's kind of interesting to me.
So-
Go ahead.
One thing I did watch the movie last night. I didn't think it was as bad as you said in the beginning. It definitely wasn't great. I got a couple of good chuckles out of it, but overall, I didn't see what all the big deal was about. And I'm really happy I didn't pay to see it in the movies. Let's put it that way. I'm really happy I didn't spend that kind of money, and I wasn't too thrilled about the $6 that I spent on it on Google Play. But
Wait, hold on a second. You disagree with me, but you're happy that you didn't spend the $40 on it.
well, you said it was the worst movie ever made. There's been movies worse. This one at least got me laughing through parts of it. But some of it was.
Think about it. You watched a 2-hour movie with you and your wife, and you think that $6 was too much.
Yeah, that's because I'm a cheap bastard. But it's a different story. A movie's got to be really good. Like I'm looking forward to go see Unbroken in the movies.
Yeah.
Based on a real book and it has some substance to it. That I'll be happy to pay full price to see in the movies for, but not this nonsense.
I hate to tell you this. From my Plex looking around, I think you're going to be disappointed.
In Unbroken? I'm halfway through the book now, so we'll see. Anyways.
Oh, just finish the book and call it a day.
Okay. Sounds good.
Where else were you going with what we were just saying?
Well, I was just basically stating that you said the movie was the worst movie ever. The fact is, it wasn't that bad. And when you have a movie that's questionable with how well it's going to do, there's only so many people that we quote as evil world dictators out there that we can actually do a movie out that's a real person. And I was thinking about it. How many movies have actually been made while one of these real dictators is still alive and in power, and someone has the balls to go out and do a movie about killing him?
Charlie Chaplin, 1930.
That's a while ago, wasn't it?
Doesn't mean that it wasn't done.
The point is, it's not like this is going to happen over and over again, right? There just aren't that many.
The Muslim Brotherhood thing that just came out in the 1990s, Chris. You remember that one, right?
Yeah.
What was the one that what's his face? The guy who did Borat was spoofing the dictator.
That was Libya. That would have been.
Yeah.
That would have been like Gaddafi. But still, it was a spoof with unmentioned dictator. It's rare that someone just has the stones to put something together like that and go straight after someone that's in power now.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that you start the movie with hearsay, right? You start the movie by saying that it must be true that people are starving there. I don't know. There's nothing in that movie that is based on fact. It's just a comedy, just like Borat or Charlie Chaplin was a little bit closer to the bone. But I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
No, I hear you there. I'm just saying it's just I could understand why people might have been upset by it or offended.
Yeah.
The movie was offensive in general on a lot of different fronts.
And I can see that Chris is refusing to talk to us anymore.
They must be doing something with social media.
That's what it is.
He's enjoying his view of the Golden Gate Bridge as the sun rises over there.
All right, guys, any closing thoughts?
It's nice out there.
Any closing thoughts?
It's two-factor authentication.
Yeah, no, I think the only closing thought is, 90% of this stuff I think can be prevented by the technologies that are out there, or just adhering or best practice, adhering to best practices. Don't put your passwords in a unprotected spreadsheet, right? Don't put people's social security information in an unprotected spreadsheet.
It's okay to use paper and pencil.
Yeah, sometimes that's the safest way.
And Chris, can you and I end on an agreement? I guess not. Chris?
I missed that. What'd you say?
Can you and I end agreeing on something?
I think
Ready?
that,
I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it out there. Ready?
Okay.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Good call. That's the right answer.
And my final
I'm
thoughts
sure
would be
it's the right answer
smoke 'em
for
out.
North Korea.
North Korea should probably look into the Dish network and maybe.
They can get that screwy HughesNet internet service.
Exactly.
Well, they have Generation 4 out now. I see advertised on TV all the time. I think that gets you up to, what, 12 megs?
Yes, and now I can shop for shoes online.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, hey, maybe you can join the farmers, lonely people, the farmers dating service.
haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Not sure I want to.
Exactly.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me, and we're gonna put another one away until next week. Talk to you then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.